Good morning and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I'm Shane Matthews, John Cornell, better known as JC and the QB, coming to you live on an early, cold Monday morning here in Gainesville.
Yes, happy Martin Luther King Jr. birthday.
Right, yes.
Many folks are off today celebrating this holiday. Many aren't, and that means we are with you as we usually are Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm really glad to be back. I had a nice 3 days away, but it's time to be back, and it's time to talk sports with you in the mornings, QB. What a weekend we had. Did you check? I mean, what impressed you the most over this weekend? This weekend?
Well, I mean, it was a lot of great things in sports. Obviously, we talk a lot of Gator basketball. We have a lot of people complaining about Gator basketball, but they manhandled the Auburn Tigers.
Bad week for Auburn, man.
And we will talk about that throughout the show. Obviously, the NFC and AFC championship games went basically the way I thought they would. Those were the two best teams. The other teams, I thought when you watched the Titans, I thought their game plan, what they did the first quarter, was the only way they could stay in the game.
Yeah.
But it's so hard when you know that the other team is so explosive and you have to play keep away and slow the game down. If you make one or two mistakes or you get off schedule, then bam, it's over.
You're hit in the face. Were you surprised they kind of went away from Henry, though? It seemed after the second period when Kansas City, they were up 17-7, and then Kansas City went on that 21-point run before the half, something like that.
Well, it wasn't they went away with him. He wasn't making any yards. I thought, to me, when the Titans took the opening drive, drove down and scored, and the first drive of the Chiefs, they go 3 and out. I thought it was the worst play calling. Here I am criticizing coaches, and I hate criticizing coaches. I don't know what Andy Reid was thinking. They ran 2 straight RPO play, get outside the pocket with Mahomes, and you got to be kicking yourself. Let the guy drop back and make a play. Let him throw the football. That first drive, I was like, man, if the Titans go down and make this thing 14-0, he's put them in a hole. But they are so explosive on offense. He's going to be maybe the greatest quarterback we've ever seen in our time. What he can do is just phenomenal.
It's amazing what the Chiefs were able to accomplish these last 2 weeks, falling behind 24-0, and then by 10 yesterday in a game where I think the fans were comfortable this time around because this team. Well, here's why I say that, because I think they knew what you're saying, that they have the best player on the field, right? And this guy is so good that even without much of a running game, he can do it himself. And that run he broke right before the half.
Maybe one of the greatest NFL plays I've ever seen.
It was a great play. So that basically told me that it was over at that point. Because Kansas City actually knows how to play some defense. And the two teams that are playing in the Super Bowl, QB, I don't know if you knew this, but they are both number 1 and number 3 in the NFL in guaranteed money on defense. So they made a commitment in the offseason to guarantee that they would have guys that were going to stick around and play good defense. I think, you got Bosa and D Ford on San Francisco's defensive line. Their front seven is probably the best in football. And Kansas City's got Jones and some really good players like Clark on the defense, and that makes them, I think, better. Even though they fell behind in many of those games. In the Houston game, it was turnovers, right? It wasn't the defense. In this game, they locked up Tennessee, and I mean, it was over at halftime.
Well, it was, but I would lean defensively towards the 49ers. The Chiefs
in the matchup.
The Chiefs still have a lot of issues on defense, and the Titans are so one-dimensional. And they basically sold out and said Derrick Henry is not going to beat us. Now, early in the game, they had some play-action passes that got them, some big plays. Mm-hmm. But you're talking about a different animal when you face Shanahan and the 49ers because they have a lot of weapons on the outside. It's the two best teams in football. I don't care what you say about the Ravens. Mm-hmm. The Ravens are, I don't want to call them gimmicky, but Lamar Jackson still, to this day, is not an NFL starting quarterback that you can say I can go win a Super Bowl with.
Well, he's been pretty bad in the postseason the last 2 games. They did win 14 games, so you can't take that away from them.
But so did the Packers, won 13.
And the Packers,
I've thought all year long, were not a very good team. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at their schedule, who they played.
Yeah.
But they just aren't a very good football team, and they got exposed yesterday.
It is amazing to me that the 49ers were literally inches away from being the 5th seed, which I don't think that really might have mattered. It may have, though, because that means they would have had to play in the wild card weekend and travel to Philadelphia. They would have won that game and only given up an average of 308 yards per game on defense. And Spagnuolo has come in there and I think given them some identity on defense. So I liked what I see from Kansas City. They've started this game out as a 1-point Kansas City favorite in Vegas. Right now at Caesars. And it is a toss-up if you ask me. But if I had to pick one today on the Monday of 13 days before the game, I'm taking San Francisco, even though I'm wearing a Chiefs hat. I'm going to root for the Chiefs, but if I had to pick it, man, it's so hard to go against a team as good defensively as they are with running backs. You know, you have to basically prepare for 2 running backs, even though one really stole the show yesterday. They still have a couple that can really, Breida and Coleman, they can really hurt you. And when you look at the 49ers, QB, did you think they could win the game throwing the ball 8 times?
No, I thought they would be more balanced, but you know, I've said it all along that the way he schemes his running game, I've never really seen anyone in the NFL do it the way he does. But it's still hard to go against the best player in football, Pat Mahomes. You know, even though as good as the 49ers are on defense, when you see all that speed, I'm telling you, man,
it's going to be a fantastic game to watch.
It's really almost impossible to stop the Chiefs.
This is almost like the anticipation we had before LSU and Clemson. To me, it's the 2 best teams, just like we saw in the college game. You know, the last team to only throw less than 10 passes to win a Super Bowl. Could you tell me who that might have been? We talked about this team a week ago when I gave you trivia. But it was in 1978, and in Super Bowl in 1978.
Okay, so I was 8 years old. I have no idea.
It was the Miami Dolphins. They won the Super Bowl.
Bob Greasy?
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl in 1978.
Larry Zonka, the tailback?
That's exactly right, and Jim Kick. And they threw 7 passes to win the Super Bowl over the I think it was the Minnesota Vikings. No, it may have not been. I don't know. Who cares? It was in 78, but they only threw 7 passes. So we've got San Francisco and Kansas City. QB, San Francisco averages after contact something like they've got 99 yards running the football after contact. And Green Bay, you know what I noticed in that game? You can comment on this. How Aaron Rodgers played. Now his stats weren't that bad, but he really played, I think, one of his worst games of the season. Forget the stats, and here's why. When he dropped the football, when they mishandled the snap, he didn't even look like he cared to go get it. And I think that attitude showed with their defense. When your leader is out there on the field and he's not selling out and going after the football that's on the ground that he drops like some guy who can barely walk, you're not going to get that effort on defense. To me, it looked like Green Bay kind of mailed it in on defense. When a team runs it and just imposes their will and challenges their manhood, like San Francisco did to Green Bay, it showed me that the Packers, and take nothing away, but it showed me that the Packers kind of just laid it out.
Well,
did you sense that with Rodgers, the way he played?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think he's played great all year. I've told you, I've not been sold on Green Bay. You know, I thought they would win against Seattle because they were only playing at home, and I didn't think Seattle's a very good team. I mean, to me, the 2 best teams in the NFC, hands down, were the Saints and the 49ers. The other teams were just kind of there. But, yeah, the Packers had a great year, but they're nowhere near the team the 49ers are, and it showed last night. But we're going to talk more about the NFL playoffs. You're watching or listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. If you want to send us a text or give us a call on the Titan MRI hotline, 352-353-7465. Some other things that happen around the world of sports. We had Michael Collins, who's an ESPN, used to be a caddy, now works for ESPN. We were talking golf, JC. Did you watch any of the golf tournament this weekend?
I was in one.
Well, not
played
one that,
quite well.
Yeah, you played great. Yeah. Andrew Landry shoots 26 under at the American Express.
26 under, really? That's a tournament? That's really a golf tournament.
PGS West, La Quinta. But anyway, the real PGA Tour starts this week.
Okay, and what's that?
It's the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, Torrey Pines, San Diego.
So, you know, all the big boys will be in that tournament.
No, Tiger loves that course. That's a great place, and you're right. That is one of the better stops on the West Coast swing before they come to Florida, which I think happens in early March, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, as we mentioned, the Gators defeat Auburn, who was ranked 4th, 69-47. Omar Payne. This was the first game. You don't notice these things, JC, but I do.
What?
Okay. This was the first game that we started. Omar Payne, who's 6'11".
I see that. Career game.
And Kerry Blackshear, who's 6'10". First time we started both big men in the same starting lineup. And, he had a double-double, 19 points, 11 rebounds for the freshman. But here's what's
Why was it such a big shock that he had such a good game?
Well, he hasn't had that point production. Yeah. He hasn't had a whole lot of playing time. Like I said, this is the first game he started along with beside Kerry Blackshear.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gators sit right now, and by the way, we got a text here. Let me read this text. It says,
you can read that, Cuban?
Yes, from it's very small. We're going to have to get the font enlarged.
Come on, Taylor.
This is on the Titan MRI text line. Good morning, guys. After watching the basketball team live Saturday, I thought it was a great performance. Auburn was overrated. They feasted off cupcakes in preseason SEC play and get a high ranking. Their strength of schedule was in the 160s, and Florida was in the top 10, and I think that was the difference of the Gators' victory. Let's beat LSU. Thanks, Daryl. That's Daryl from Green Cove.
Good text, Daryl from Green Cove.
Here's what I will say. Their schedule was awful. I believe the only game that they had played on the road was in Mobile, which really isn't and they barely beat South Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, we travel to LSU. LSU sits undefeated in the conference play right now.
I think they're beatable.
They're very beatable.
Very beatable.
They won in overtime at Texas A&M, which A&M's not a great team.
Had to win a buzzer beater.
At home,
to beat State.
They hit a last-second shot to beat Mississippi State. But my point is, going on the road. Now we've won 4 of the last 5 against LSU.
Right.
It's going to be very hard to win there.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, we got the number 2 ranked Baylor Bears coming into town. But I will say this: I've watched Baylor play several times. We will beat Baylor at home.
Oh, you heard that on Monday morning. A prediction. He won't pick the Super Bowl, but by golly, he will pick.
I will pick the Florida game. I picked every other playoff game, correct?
Oh, you already said San Francisco?
Why am I going to pick that? We got 2 weeks to talk about the Super Bowl.
Point.
We will beat the Baylor Bears.
They'll beat the Baylor Bears?
Yes.
I think LSU's beatable. I watched some of that Mississippi State game with them, and and the Mississippi State's not a bad team, by the way, at 2-3 in the league.
But
with Reggie Perry,
how hard is it to win on the road in the conference?
Very hard. It's very hard.
Difficult.
But when you got them down with 4 seconds left, you'd like to win that, and LSU pulled it out. So yes, they won that game. Florida's got to show me something on the road, though. I mean, they only played a good game on the road at South Carolina, as far as I can remember.
We've only played 2 road games.
Oh, okay. Well, then
2 conference road games.
Right, 2 conference road games. But I've seen them play outside of Gainesville, and it's But I think I think LSU is ripe for the taking. I think they can beat them. But that game Saturday with Baylor should be really interesting.
It's a night game.
It's Saturday night. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. So also in sports news, the head ball coach, Coach Steve Spurrier, won his Polynesian Bowl over Frank Beamer. They gave him a Gatorade bath.
They did. They threw well, was it Gatorade or water? It looked like it was just
I don't know, but it was the damn Gatorade cooler.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, who doesn't want a bath in Hawaii after a big win? So congrats to the head ball coach, and those young kids, they had a great experience.
Now, JC, you've been gone on vacation for about 6 days.
6 days.
Well, you missed 3 days here, then the other weekend, so 5 days. You had a 5-day vacation. I didn't get your thoughts on, and we haven't talked much on the show, about the whole stealing signs with the Houston Astros.
I think the Astros took the right action getting rid of the GM and the coach, or the manager, I should say, and I'm not sure about what should be done with the players. I don't know that, but it's also interesting that Carlos Beltran, who was in line for the Mets job, he's out in New York, so it's a real black eye. I mean, he cheated. So I don't think I just don't know if you take away the World Series, though. But because I don't think that was why they won it. But if it helped them win it, how can they really say that was a credible World Series championship? The Dodgers are sitting there thinking, oh, well, hell, we did it right, and they beat us, but they cheated to beat us. So maybe Corey Bellinger and Kershaw, that maybe they think, oh, well, we're the champions. We should have been the champions that year when the Astros beat us. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they should take away the World Series crown or put an asterisk by the statistic?
It's tough to say. I mean,
Radway.
I did see where I think it was a couple of major league pitchers said they'd much rather face guys who were on steroids than people that knew what pitch was coming, and I kind of agree with that. Man, it's a shame because I really like that Astros team.
Well, Hinch, I mean, but you can't do that. Come on, QB.
Well, it was more of Alex Cora, right?
It was, and he's a Boston Red Sox, of course.
Well, he's
maybe
gone
they should take him out.
They did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they should take his championship away too, because he won it with the stinking Boston Red Sox, and I do mean the stinking Boston Red Sox. So I don't know. I think baseball is, and here's Pete Rose sitting around signing autographs, doing radio shows, and making public appearances, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. Right? I mean, does that make any sense to anybody with any common sense? No. He had more hits than anybody. He didn't use steroids to do it. And so what? He picked the Reds one night in the dugout to beat the Cardinals. Okay. Enough of this.
Well, we're going to come back. We're going to take our first time out of the
program.
We got a lot more NFL talk. We got to talk. I got some college football stuff I want to bring up.
Good.
You're watching Pod Up. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Gators Dockside, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back. Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. If you want to send us a text on the Titan MRI hotline, 352-353-7465. JC, before we dive back into the National Football League.
Well, I just wanted you to know one of our mutual friends had an opportunity for him and I and others to successfully wager on the Florida Gators to beat Auburn at the Atlantis Casino. And because he was too lazy to get out of bed and do it before golf, we missed out on an easy money win.
Well, you could have done it.
Well, we talked about this the night before. I had other responsibilities, and all he had to do was either get him or his wife to go down there and do it. So instead, he comes back after the golf match, after we're all done, and bets on Seattle University and Boise State and California Riverside instead of taking the Gators.
Well, you could have done it yourself. College football news. Kadarius Toney has said he's going to come back for the Gators. I don't know why he ever thought he was going to leave.
I didn't think he was going to leave.
Well,
he hadn't played enough to leave.
No, he's got a long ways to go before he can play at that next level.
Well, that's really good. I mean, you're going to have Grimes, Copeland, Toney, and Pitts at the wide receiver position, and I think that's a good starting point.
There's some guys that were redshirted that are going to play.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they lost some guys, and the new guys showing up will be contributors. But I think Grimes, Copeland, Toney, and Pitts is a good base to start off.
Yeah. Also, De'Aaron King, the Houston quarterback, who decided after 4 games the beginning of the year he was going to redshirt. There was talk he was going to go back and play at Houston. When that happened, I was like, there ain't no way.
No.
So there was word that he was going to Miami, but not so fast. It's either going to be Miami, LSU, Arkansas, or Maryland.
Maryland.
Well, I don't know why anybody go play at Maryland.
Well, that one kid from Louisiana sure loved it. The LSU, the kid that they thought was going to go to LSU, he ended up at Maryland. I can't think of his name, but he was a five-star prospect.
Yeah, but Maryland is not going to go to a bowl game.
I don't know why he picked Maryland.
They're awful.
But he picked them. Instead of LSU, he picked them. Joe Burrow said something funny the other day. He said, they said, well, who do you want to play for in the NFL? He goes, I don't care. I'll play for anybody that pays me money.
That's right. Here's the one that surprised me the most. Travis Etienne, the tailback for Clemson, he's coming back.
Oh.
He's not going pro.
Good Lord. I don't think that's good news.
Well, Najee Harris is not going pro. Which
that is great news.
Great news for y'all. Kylan Hill, the great running back at Mississippi State, is coming back. And
he is? Oh, he is?
He is,
Oh,
which is
he's
surprising.
so excited. He must be excited about what Mike Leach told him.
Yeah, but Leach doesn't hand that ball off very often.
No, well, he'll have to figure it out.
What do you think about Dave Aranda going to Baylor?
I love it. I mean, he's got Baylor ties, and I think his family's happy. And look, he's a head coach now, and it's good. I mean, and where did Brady? He's going to.
He's the offense coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. So the national champs are losing their offense coordinator.
Welcome to the club, LSU. Welcome to the club. You lose everybody when you win the championship, my man. You do.
Yeah,
just ask Nick Saban.
But here's the thing.
Welcome to the club, LSU. You're losing everybody.
Well,
see how good you are now. Go ahead.
Well, they're going to struggle without Joe Brady.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And a guy named Joe Burrow. They're going to struggle with him, too. No Joes. Two Joes.
Y'all are going to struggle next
Y'all
year,
are not going to struggle next year because they've got players out of the you-know-what.
You don't think LSU does?
Not like these guys. They don't have a backup that has the experience of Mac Jones. Are you kidding me?
Well, only because Mac Jones played this year.
That's right.
Okay. Well, if they would have had somebody. They have Miles Brennan who played a little bit in mop-up.
But, I mean, they'll beat LSU, but they won't be this LSU. Or that LSU.
That was the best college football team of all time.
Why?
Why? Did you see the schedule that they went through and hammered every one of them?
And their offense was good. But they didn't have the greatest defense of all time.
Did it matter?
No.
They were the best college football team I've seen in my lifetime.
You liked them better than the 2001 Hurricanes?
Oh, yes.
Oh, because they're from Miami?
No.
What about the 2012 Alabama Crimson Tide with Eddie Lacy and A.J. McCarron? Were they better than them?
Yes. The schedule doesn't lie. What they went through is the most difficult schedule of all time.
It was a good schedule, and they did look great doing it. Yeah, they were very, very impressive. And I liked it. They went straight to the White House literally a week later. And they had a great time there. None of this boycotting garbage. They enjoyed the honor to go. Good for them.
All right, so what did you have for us in your other notes?
My other notes. I could tell stories from the islands, but I won't want to do that and bore everybody.
Wants to hear that.
I will tell you, though, that these two teams playing in the Super Bowl. Well, we'll get to I want to talk more Gator basketball, but let's wait for that toward the end of the hour. But these two teams that are playing, we talked about how much better they've gotten on defense, but they both had 7 times this year 20-0 runs on offense, meaning they scored 20 points without the other team scoring, and they both have done it. The only other team to do that was New England, and they did that 7 times this year. Now, this player that really showed up last night was a guy named Raheem Mostert, and nobody really knew who the hell he was.
I know where he's from.
Well, you do now.
I did before the game.
Well, then why didn't you pick him on your fantasy if he's so good? So
that has nothing to do with it. Where I know where he's from. I know.
You knew he was from Purdue?
Yes, because he played at New Smyrna High School.
What does that got to do with anything?
I knew he went to Purdue. He didn't play a whole lot at Purdue.
You know people at New Smyrna?
I did know one of their old high school head coaches.
Yeah, he was a quite really average, common players they call him at Purdue.
Well, he wasn't even drafted in the National Football League.
I know. I mean, the first 3 years. But let me just tell you about this kid at Purdue. First 3 years, 2011, that was a long time ago, 9 years ago, this kid. 2011, 2012, and 2013, he played wide receiver, scored 3 touchdowns in 3 years. And then they put him at running back. He scored 3 touchdowns in that season in 2014, and he only had 529 yards. So he really came out of virtually nowhere. He gets thrown into the San Francisco offense due to injuries of Matt Breida and some others. And Kyle Shanahan, he uses him like, I mean, this is Gale Sayers. Second all time to Eric Dickerson getting 220 yards in a playoff game. He had 4 touchdowns yesterday. He had 160 yards in the first half. Nobody's done that. And there he is, probably making league minimum and the single biggest star in the game. yesterday in the NFC Championship game. 220 yards. Only Eric Dickerson has done that in a playoff game. By contrast, Derrick Henry in his playoff game yesterday only had 69 yards. Much different game. But Kyle Shanahan's quite a story. You love him, and you say he's one of the best. He has two seasons before this, has only 10 wins. Now, of course, Garoppolo went down in week 3 of last year, so he lost his quarterback. But he's only won 10 games in the first 2 years after that heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots as the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator, which you can't blame him for losing that game. You have to blame the coach for not kicking that field goal, and losing that 28-3 lead. But San Francisco is the third team to go to the Super Bowl to win 4 games or fewer the year before. The other 2 teams were the Cincinnati Bengals in 1998 and my LA Rams in 1999. So congrats to the 49ers for turning around that franchise. You have to love what John Lynch, who came in there with the job that Ned York gave him, to turn this back around. And here they are going for their 6th Super Bowl in franchise history, which would tie them with
Patriots
and
Cowboys, Steelers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, which, like I told you, Shanahan is here we go. So
Shanahan, what?
Well, hang on. We're going to go to our Facebook Live here. This guy right here, Mr. Jenkins, was
Lance.
the head coach at New Smyrna Beach. They're called the
Way to go,
the
Lance. The kudos.
He wasn't offered until Christmas his senior year.
That's incredible. Way to go. Thank you for that, Lance. No, that is quite a story. And that dude he is fast.
He may be one of the fastest guys
so damn
in the
fast.
NFL.
When I saw them play the Saints in the Superdome, I had no idea who he was, right? Nobody did. And there he goes. And I'm thinking, where has this guy been?
I think we got a phone call here on the Titan MRI hotline.
Who is this?
Good morning. Welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. Who we got on the air?
Hey, this is Gene. How are you?
Hey, Gene. How you doing, my man?
Gene.
What's on your mind, Gene?
Oh, I didn't know it went straight through. I thought we had a screener call, but hey, fellas, good to talk to you.
You're hot, dude. That's what they say in the business. When you're on, you're hot. Your mic is hot. Go.
Well, first-time caller, long-time listener, fellas. So good to be on the radio or the podcast with you. Shane, I mean, are we going to start seeing Omar Payne in the starting lineup?
No.
How good was that? I went to the game. I mean, but Scotty Lewis barely got in. I don't know what his numbers were, but I didn't see him on the court, and I don't know why.
No, he played. I think what Mike White did with this matchup, Auburn's not a huge team. Austin Wiley, their big man, so he went with the two tower lineup, I guess. You know, you had a 6'10" at Blackshear, 6'11" Omar Payne. First time we've seen it all year, and it gave Auburn fits. And you saw Omar Payne with 19 points, 11 rebounds. I thought it brought energy to our team.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Scotty Lewis played. He didn't show up from a scoring standpoint. But I like this lineup. And you'll see, Scotty Lewis, Trey Mann played a little bit. Those two guys, Trey Mann, in my opinion, is the one guy that needs to get going. And he's just struggling for whatever reason. But he is the best scorer from what we've been told from a practice standpoint. And he was unbelievable in high school. I think as the season progresses, I think Trey Mann will be a huge, huge part of this basketball team.
But I'm with you, Gene. I thought it was good to see this kid come in and really make an impact. And to do it in a big game like this, coming off a loss, the team needed a big game, and he was a big contributor. So it's a really good sign for Florida's depth.
Well, it sounds like Mike White just did some coaching, just knew some matchups and out-coached Bruce over there.
Well, yeah, we out-coached them and we outplayed them. I mean, you can coach a lot, but your kids got to go out and play, and I thought we played extremely well. I thought Andrew Nemhard, who hadn't practiced all week because he had the flu, I thought he played well. So,
Blackshear with 16
this team is a lot better than people think, and just because you go on the road and lose at Missouri, I mean, look, Auburn has lost backto-back games on the road.
And Missouri went on the road and got blown out at Mississippi State. Yeah. So, teams – Georgia went on the road and got blown out at Mississippi State. So it happens.
Well, hopefully they're starting to, the freshmen getting a little – I mean, I think Payne might have had his breakout game. But on the other things now, I heard somebody went over to the Bahamas and may or may not had 5 to 6 birdies in one round.
5.
Can you confirm that?
5, including a hat trick or a turkey, as they call it in bowling, on the 440-yard par 4 on the 530-yard par 5 number 6 going into the ocean, on the 440-yard par 4 dogleg right around a lake with a lake behind the green protecting it at number 7, and on a 185-yard into the wind par 3 number 8 going into the ocean. You see these holes on when the LPGA plays their tournament there, and it was a challenge, but it was doable. We only played it about 6,300 yards, thank God. So he laughs.
Well,
but you still got to put the ball in the hole, Gino. You still have to put the ball in the hole. So, and the wind's blowing at 20 to 30 miles an hour. He would have a nightmare scenario in that case.
Yes.
Nightmare.
Anything else for you, Gene?
Well, no, just enjoyed the golf talk on Friday, Shane. We got the PGA Super Show down there in Orlando this week. So kicks off all the merchandise. Some people get excited about new equipment and things of that nature.
Yes, new equipment, new apparel, all that kind of stuff.
You haven't bought a new golf club in 20 years, QB.
I haven't.
Yeah, he hasn't bought a golf club in 20 years. Maybe you could get him excited about something like that, Gino.
I don't know, but look forward to NFL coverage, guys, and I appreciate taking the call.
Good to have you awake with us in the morning there, Gino.
Thanks for the call, Gene. Join us on the Titan MRI.
Yeah, he's on his way to go move some dirt today.
By the way, it's not the arrows, it's the Indian, JC. Just remember that.
What?
We're talking about new equipment.
But your technology,
it's old.
So then why does anybody buy new stuff?
Right. But my point is, my old stuff works. So why switch?
You might have stuff that works better.
That's possible, but right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh, it ain't broke.
It ain't broke.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you one year out there in the Bahamas. I tell you, you laugh, but it was challenging with that wind blowing.
The wind was blowing extremely hard here in Gainesville on Friday.
Yeah.
About 20, 25
and
miles
what's
an hour.
this 30-degree weather I just rolled back into, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy. What else did I miss last week? I know you talked about the golf. You had Collins on the air. The basketball team did so well. But anything else on recruiting? Did we hear anything from anybody?
No,
February is only what? February is a few weeks away.
Well, our head coach was in South Africa at Tim Tebow's wedding, so I'm still sure.
South Africa.
That's where he got married, yeah. I think that's where she's from.
Wow. Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in the world of recruiting. We only have a few spots. We'll find out more. We'll have somebody talk recruiting here in the next few days. It's the first Wednesday in February, right?
So who will be, first, I think it's the first Wednesday, second signing day. Speaking of recruiting, who do you see recruiting Tom Brady, who is now a free agent, who has been and said on his Westwood One radio broadcast that he is open to anything? So the guess would be, do the Patriots give him a max deal, which at his level at quarterback right now, guaranteed money would be about $35 million per season. At his age, you got to figure a 2-year contract at the most. So that's what, $70 million guaranteed. Do the Patriots do that, or does he get it somewhere else? And if so, where? Tom Brady.
Well, my gut feeling says he'll be back in New England. I thought maybe if Josh McDaniels had gotten a head job at one of these other places, he would go with him just so their familiarity with the systems. But I could see him going to San Diego, being a California kid, growing up in that state. The Chargers need to sell tickets because they're in that. They're going. I think they're going to the new stadium they share with the Rams.
That's right.
So I could see that possibly happening.
They have to do something.
But it's one of those deals where I think he's going to have to sit down with whatever team. Now you look at the Patriots roster. In order for him to go back to play for New England, I got to sit there and say, you know what, y'all are going to have to bring me some weapons.
Yeah.
Let me see who this is on the phone line.
Oh, we got another Titan MRI phone call.
Good morning. Welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. Who do we have?
Hey, Shane, it's Daryl.
Hey, Daryl. We got Daryl from Green Coast Springs on the Titan MRI text line. What's on your mind, Daryl?
Hey, Shane, I agree with you. JC, he's crazy smart, man. LSU is the best football team we've ever
you,
seen.
You really expect me to admit that after watching 5 national championships, Daryl? I mean, honest to God, really? At Alabama?
Well, JC, come on, bud. Look at the schedule like Shane says. Look at who they played. I mean, my goodness, man, you can't deny that.
I'm not denying who they played, but I might be denying that they're the best ever. But I mean, what do you want me to do? Say yes, they're better than all those Alabama championship teams?
It's okay to sometimes admit when somebody's better than you.
Well, how do you know that? They didn't play the 2012 Alabama team that ran all over people. So, I mean, do you really know that? They didn't see that defense with those linebackers and defensive linemen, did you? I mean, that are all in the NFL. But listen, I don't begrudge LSU. I think they deserve what they have. I think it's great that they won because I needed them to win that night in particular. But I do think that team offensively was probably the best or most prolific offensive team that I've seen play. Defensive, no, but offensively, absolutely. And that kid had the best season of a college player at that position of any ever. So nobody's denying that, Daryl. So how's that? Does that work good for you? Can I go there?
Yeah, can live with that, I guess, JC.
Okay, good.
From the LSU, man. Speaking of LSU, we're going to have our hands full tomorrow night. I'm not going to say we're going to win, but we got a chance to win. And I agree with you 100%. I think we can beat Baylor Saturday night. That's probably going to be our best chance of winning these next 2 games.
Yeah, anytime you go on the road in the conference, it's hard to play, and especially a team as talented as LSU. I mean, they are extremely talented and athletic. I think it's going to be hard to win there. I would say we have a much better chance of beating Baylor at home. Baylor's got a great backcourt, and the way they play, they kind of match up well with us, and it's just hard to go on the road and win. But if we could somehow win both of these games, good gracious. But I'll take a split right now.
Yeah. And you know what, too, guys? If we could just keep people out of foul trouble, especially Kerry Blackshear, man, I mean, he's a stud in the middle. We just got to keep him out of foul trouble.
Yeah, he has been in foul trouble lately, and I really like the move that Mike White did, starting him and Omar Payne. Brought a lot of height to the starting lineup. If we can get – now, Omar Payne's not going to have a double-double every night, but if you can get the play out of him like you did Saturday, this team has a chance to be very good and make a deep run.
Right. And on the college basketball a little bit more, are you surprised at one person going out? Just take, for example, for North Carolina and losing that kid that was on fire at the beginning of the year, how they're really struggling. Shoot, they might not even make the tournament this year, man.
Yeah, I will say this. I think it's Greg Anthony, who was a longtime NBA player. It was his kid that went out with, knee surgery. But you would still think North Carolina would be competitive. They're not even competitive. Pitt hammered them by 20-something Saturday.
So did Georgia Tech.
They're not competitive. They're not going to make the tournament, Daryl. I'm going to say it right now. What is it today?
Yeah, today's
January 20th. I don't think North Carolina will make the NCAA tournament, which is shocking. You would think that they would have enough depth there to be able to compete. And the ACC is down this year. So it's very surprising what's going on in Chapel Hill.
Yep. Yeah, guys, there's so much parity in college basketball. It's been a fun year so far. We're still early, but wow, that's all I can say about college basketball so far.
I agree. Daryl, thanks for the call, my man. Have a good day.
Yes, Daryl joining us on the Titan MRI pod-up line. We can also text at that number, 352-353-7465. Speaking of Baylor, he brought him up before we go to break. They are 15-1 on the year, but their one loss was on the road at Washington. They lost by 3. However,
they were. I was flipping around the channels, doing stuff around the house before I went out Saturday. They were playing Oklahoma State and Stillwater. They won the game by 6 or 7. But Oklahoma State did not score the last 4 minutes, and they had the lead. Yeah, and it was crazy how they lost the game.
Yeah, they've also won though at Texas Tech, which is a very good win, by 5, and by 12 at Kansas. That's also a good win. So they're very good. And they will be coming here Saturday night for an 8 o'clock tip. They play Oklahoma tonight at 9 o'clock. So you can
Where's that game?
That game is at home in Waco. So you can get a little taste of the Baylor Bears, who will have 4 days off 4 days, 4 nights off before coming here. Actually, it'll be more like 5 days because they'll spend all day Saturday sitting around. So they will basically be off this week after tonight's game before they come to Gainesville. But they've got some impressive wins on the road. But like you said, they had a real dogfight with Oklahoma State, and I'm not really sure what that's all about. But Florida will be hosting that game here in Gainesville on Saturday night at 8. But first things first, and that would be LSU tonight. So Florida also, or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. Tomorrow
night. So that's also going to give the Gators an extra day. They won't be traveling on Wednesday night, coming back early Thursday morning, which is kind of like Wednesday night, but it'll be easier, I think, for Florida on Saturday by playing on Tuesday. I don't know if that really matters, but I think it does help to have that extra day. So.
Well, regardless, they're going to be playing a great quality opponent on Saturday in O'Connell Center. We're going to take our last time out of the program. You're listening and watching Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security. Small enough to serve you, large enough to care.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Gators Dockside, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Weeby at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
All right, here we go. We're back with Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. I'm JC, John Cornell. We're here every Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock. We go from 8 to 9 for your listening and viewing pleasure. You can watch us on Facebook Live, Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning, as well as on YouTube. Just search Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning, and here we are from 8 to 9 o'clock.
We're in the Crime Prevention Security System
all
Studios.
day long. Well, at least this hour we certainly are. And we've been talking a lot about, obviously, Florida basketball, big night tomorrow night with LSU, the trip over there, and then, of course, Saturday night's game with Baylor. We've also, of course, talked about the conference championship games in both Kansas City and San Francisco. Some text messages are rolling on Facebook Live. Lance, once again, great show, fellas. Keep it up with a big hearty thing.
He loves it. Maybe he loves you, JC.
Oh, well. And then we have Rick. Is it true that Shane still uses wooden shaft clubs? Yes,
Absolutely.
He's got a persimmon, and he also hits old Titleist Bellatas.
No, I use the not Bellatas. What was it? The Professional. Remember the Titleist Professional?
My God. No, but sure. Jeff Bennett.
I may start playing pro staff balls.
Pro staff.
Hey, some old McGregor
some
clubs.
Spaldings. Get out the old Spaldings. Really enjoy the show. Glad I found it. Go Gators. Yes, Jeff, thank you for chiming in. Tell all your friends and all your rich business owners out there that we're available and ready to entertain and talk sports.
Speaking of, Rick brought up my wooden shafts. JC, I think you and I need to have a little golf contest every week.
That'd be great.
Where we pick, like with the Farmers Insurance out at Torrey Pines this week.
Yeah,
we both pick
winners,
3 or 4 players and see
who. Let's do that. Who can we get to sponsor that?
Well, we can figure something out there.
Okay, let's figure that out. Well, no, I'm all for it, brother. I'm all for it. I'll win that too. Yeah. I'll win that too. Who else is a winner here this weekend? Jason Garrett got a job.
He did.
Thought Joe Judge did a good job. That's the Giants head coach. 30-something. He's in his 30s, QB, and he's coaching the New York Giants, but he made a good decision, I think, in getting a guy with 10 years head coaching experience, specifically in the NFC Eastern Division, with Jason Garrett, the former Dallas Cowboys head coach, who was replaced by Mike McCarthy. And the Giants now have an offensive coordinator, so good for them. The big question we were speaking about before we had a call from Gene and Daryl was about Tom Brady and where would he end up and what would our thoughts be. And QB is, I'm kind of in line with you, QB, about him going back to New England. But, they would have to probably give him the max, and he deserves that, of course, because he's been taking pay cuts to try to keep that salary cap issue.
$30 million for 1 year for him, 30, whatever 35. It is nothing.
Sure, but that's what he's going to get, and that's what he wants.
Right.
And New England's going to pay it, but who else would pay it? And our thinking would be perhaps the LA Chargers would pay it because they are opening up with the Rams in a brand new, beautiful stadium where the national championship of college football will be played in 2022, I believe. So
really?
I think so because next year it's in Miami. No, 2023. It's in Miami next year. It's in Indianapolis the year after that, and then they're going out to LA to play in that stadium. So, and I may have them in Indianapolis confused, but backwards on the years. But I think that's where it is. It goes Miami, Indianapolis, Los Angeles. So that stadium will host that game. But the Chargers are literally having trouble finding fans in that area. They truly are the San Diego Chargers, but they're not in San Diego. So the owner took them out of there because he wanted to play in that stadium, and they don't have any fans. I mean, they played at some soccer field for 3 years now, and they've had other teams come in and be the home team, specifically the Steelers, the Packers, the 49ers, teams like that come in and just overrun the Charger fan base, if there is one, in Los Angeles. So they need a splash, and that would be a Tom Brady signing in free agency to take over for Philip Rivers, who just moved his entire family, all 7 kids and the wife.
I thought he had 9 kids.
Well, 7, 9, you lose track at some point. I would. But you have moved now from San Diego, and you've come to Florida. He's moved to South Florida. Perhaps maybe a spot at the Miami Dolphins for a year would be in the offing for Philip Rivers. Who knows? Maybe he would be in there to groom perhaps Tua Tagovailoa or somebody who gets drafted by the Dolphins in the first round. They have a bunch of picks, the Dolphins do. So you would think perhaps a quarterback would come in and maybe they'll sign Philip Rivers to a 1 or 2 year deal. Who knows? But he's at the tail end of his glorious career too. So Tom Brady to L.A. would make sense.
Yeah, it would. It would be very strange to see him wearing a different uniform. But like I said earlier before we went to break, I think he's going to have to sit down with the Patriots and the Chargers, whoever he's in talks with, and say, okay, obviously I only have 1 or 2 years left. I want to make a run. What kind of cast of characters do you have around me? And I think when you look at the Patriots' skill positions, it's horrible.
Well, they don't
absolutely horrible.
And they're not picking high in the draft either.
Okay, when you look at the Chargers, they have Keenan Allen.
Gordon.
They have Melvin Gordon in the backfield. They got the little what's the number 30? I can't think of his name.
He's good.
Yeah. And then they also have the Clemson wide receiver. So
Eckler.
Yeah.
Eckler. Yeah.
And then what's the Clemson wide receiver? Williams?
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
No, they have
better weapons.
They have players.
Than the Patriots.
No, they have players.
This point.
I think that would be, and just think about it. Him and LeBron in Los Angeles. Yeah, that makes sense, right? You don't think so?
Well, no. Yeah. But you think the Chargers give a dang that? I mean, they want somebody.
No,
that's going to come
I'm not saying they care, but I think it would be realistic to think that a guy like Brady would want to go hang with his boy LeBron. You think
they're going to
Hollywood?
They're going to hang out?
Well, you don't think they'll share? You
think he's going to be in the front row watching the Lakers play?
I think that's very possible.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah, with Giselle hanging around.
She'll probably be busy doing her thing.
Well, but LA's the place. Okay, so I mean, I don't know. They could sit up there in Foxborough again and finish it up there, and that would make sense. He loves the fan base there, and they love him, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's greatest all the time. Blah blah blah. So, but would Belichick say, what if Tom Brady goes to Bill Belichick and says, the only way I'm re-signing with you because, as you said, the money is not that important, even though I insist on a max deal, which I should get, is that I get Monday and Tuesday off every week. Would Belichick say, bunk or pound sand, Tom, you're coming in on Monday?
Well, not
because Tuesday is the off day in the NFL. Go ahead.
And Mondays, the only time you really come in is for a quick team meeting.
But what if Tom says, no, I want to be in New York with the family? After Sunday's game, I am flying my ass back to New York to be with the family, and I'm not showing up till Wednesday. Would Belichick say yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then he'd probably stay in New England because that's what I bet you Tom Brady says.
Why does he? I thought he lived in.
He lives in New York.
He does?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's not very far.
No, not for these people. No, they just hop on these little, jets, and they're there. But
New York to Boston is not far in a car.
It takes an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's
Right.
like driving to Orlando. You want to do that to commute every day? No, he's not doing that. He might get in a helicopter to go out to the Hamptons, but he's not going to fly to Boston on JetBlue or on his NetJet.
He could probably catch the train.
Okay. Him and Joe Biden on the train. Great. 8:50 is our time. I just think the day you see Tom Brady on a train is the day he goes and spends $350 on a new Cleveland driver. Okay? There is zero chance of that happening. But anyway, he lives in New York. Okay.
Have you ever traveled on a train?
I have Amtrak. But I wouldn't do it today, and that's nothing against Amtrak, but no. And
when I played for the Redskins, we used to take the train. We take the train from the Washington area to New York when we played the Giants, and also to Philly. Yeah. It was great.
Oh, it was a great experience, I'm sure, for you and your teammates. Did you guys ever win in Philadelphia?
We have to go back in the books and see. I don't remember.
You can remember every shot you hit at Meadowbrook and exactly how far it was with the iron that you swung 2 weeks ago, but you wouldn't remember winning a game in Philadelphia for the Washington Redskins? No.
I don't think we did win there.
That's a tough place to win.
I think we won in the Meadowlands, though. I can't remember.
Well,
what does it matter?
I'll tell you what matters is that Kyle Shanahan in his third year is going to the Super Bowl. You love him. He was in the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons as the offensive coordinator. They should have beaten New England that year, but they didn't. And they are going back to Miami, Kansas City, and their fan base is, the entire state of Missouri or Kansas, or they're kind of right on the border of Kansas and Missouri. And they will all be down there in Miami. They travel great. The Kansas City fan base is kind of like the Buffalo fan base. They're everywhere, and they travel very well. Green Bay brought the whole state of Wisconsin down. San Francisco brings a large fan base as well. They have a lot of fans all over the country with 5 Super Bowl rings. So I think this is going to be a tremendous Super Bowl. I love the matchups. I love the offensive versus defensive matchups. I think both players, Mahomes and Garoppolo, are going to have just so much to deal with defensively from the other teams, but probably more so Mahomes than Garoppolo, because I'm still not sure who really runs the ball with Kansas City. I do know San Francisco can run it, and I certainly think that we'll have 2 weeks to talk about this game. But the best player on the field will be wearing the Chiefs uniform, but perhaps the best team is the other one. So we'll see. We'll talk about this as we go. Tomorrow night, though, Florida basketball against LSU. Who's carrying that, QB? Are you on that?
I'm not, but we got a text here on the Titan MRI text line from Joe and Marietta.
Oh.
So, JC, what kind of clubs do you use?
I am a ping guy, Bubba and I swing the G400s, the last year's new set.
Is your entire bag ping?
No, I have a tour spin 60-degree sand wedge, which has been noted as being one of the reasons why I'm probably the best sand player you've ever seen.
Tour spin?
Tour
what brand
spin.
is
It's
that?
like a $20 club, but I love it.
Is that one of those infomercial things?
No. I think I got it at Service Merchandise years ago when it was here in town. Just kind of like you, holding on to those old lovable clubs.
Mine are Cleveland
that
wedges,
are great.
by the way.
But I also have a Cleveland putter, a Cleveland Classic putter, and I have a ping wedge and ping irons. I have a ping driver, a Callaway 3-wood with a shooter shaft. It's a very good shaft. I think it's called a shooter shaft. Anyway, Callaway 3-wood and Callaway Apex hybrids.
So you have a mixture in your bag.
Quite a mixture.
Okay. Well, thanks for the text there, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd love to know what Joe plays.
Well, he's in Marietta. He'd have to let us know.
We're also on iTunes and Spotify. I didn't mention that. I need to mention that from now on. iTunes and Spotify, Matthews in the Morning. That's very important because that's how folks are listening these days and watching on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So we've got great sponsors, so much to offer from 8 to 9 a.m., and we're really happy to be doing this every morning from 8 o'clock till 9. We're about done. Well, 8:55 is really when we kick it off, take it off the air, and we'll be back tomorrow. Anything you want to finish with, QB?
Nope, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about LSU and the Gators, and obviously we'll be talking Super Bowl for the next couple of weeks. But you've been watching Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Take care. See you tomorrow.